Persuading people to take the actions we want can be hard. Our teams and clients are bombarded with thousands of messages every single day. But there is a way for you to get above the noise. Stories. This is the Stories with Traction podcast, and I'm your host, Matt Zahn. Join my guests and me as we unpack the power of storytelling. We'll talk about topics like leadership, sales, and marketing, all through the lens of strategic storytelling. Enjoy this episode. For me, one of the most fascinating aspects of travel is not just going to cool places and seeing really interesting sights, but it's the people. It's meeting a ton of people. And I've had the opportunity in the last several years to do that. I've spoken in almost every US state to every industry you can imagine. And I have learned a lot from the people that I have met. One of the things that fascinates me is I'm yet to come in contact with another human being that has told me storytelling is not important. No one should focus on it. I'm yet to hear that. And I want you to think of how many differences of opinions we have as a culture. They are vast, right? We have differences, but yet I've never come in contact with someone that it doesn't at least recognize some level of importance with storytelling. So we know that it's important. I challenge everyone listening to this podcast episode to really do a deep dive in what you do in business and figure out, are you utilizing intentional strategic storytelling to help you achieve your goals quicker? Because we all recognize it's important. What are we doing about it strategically? Okay, so if you haven't thought of this, I really challenge you to set time aside on your calendar and put a time slot in there called Story Strategy Session. Story Strategy Session. Once you do this the first time, I challenge you to do it as a reoccurring event. Now, this is going to be different for different people, depending on your schedule, depending on what specific area of business you're focused on, but at least get it on the calendar. Story Strategy Session. Now, when I do these, I block off 20 minutes. Okay. So for anyone listening that has a million things going on, that should be music to your ears, right? I'm not asking you to block off an hour or 2 hours. I'm asking you to block off 20 minutes. Within these 20 minutes, what you will do is you will pick a process you're currently working on in business. Okay. So what do I mean by process? So process can be your sales strategy. So the process from prospect to client. It could be hiring. It could be your internal communication, meaning, so if you're a leader and you do staff meetings, weekly, biweekly, monthly, in-person, virtual, it doesn't matter, right? But if you are a leader doing staff meetings, that could be the process could be your preparation for the staff meeting, okay? And then what you will do once you have that process is you will focus on the most pertinent emotions as it pertains to business. Okay, so there are 4. Okay, so before I dive into the 4, let me just say that there are tons of human emotions. Okay, you can look up, I don't even know if there's an exact number. I'm sure it's probably debatable, but there are many, many human emotions, well over 100 different emotions that people can feel. Okay, so these are the 4, though, that are the most dominant when it comes to the business world. So the 4 are excited, angry, fearful, and surprised. Excited, angry, fearful, and surprised. If you really figure out people's decision making, so the behaviors that they have, the decisions they make, a lot of that when it comes to business are tied to these 4 emotions. Again, excited, angry, fearful, surprised. So what you will do once you have the story strategy session blocked off on your calendar and you're ready to go, you pick a process. So for this example, the process we're going to pick is preparation for an upcoming staff meeting. Okay. So if you're a senior leader and let's say next week you have a staff meeting and you really want to inspire your team to take different actions that you want. So that's the process, the preparation for the meeting. Then what you'll do is you will zone in on one, maybe two of these emotions. So when it pertains to internal communication, the two emotions are pretty positive, right? Excited and surprised would be the two that you're focused on. If you're going the sales route where you're trying to figure out the strategy from prospect to client, or maybe even upselling a client that you already have, the focus is on the two negative, which would be fearful and angry. Okay. But again, for this example, we're talking about the internal communication piece and the preparation for the staff meeting. So let's take the idea of excited. So what you will do is you will focus on topics that relate to that excitement. So if I were to ask you, what is exciting you right now? This goal right here would be you are rattling off every single topic that you have as it pertains to excitement. So you may say, I'm excited about my team's growth. We're growing. We're hiring some really cool people. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited that there's certain market conditions that are really, they're helping us right now when it comes to expanding our business. I'm excited about achieving goals this upcoming quarter. I'm excited, whatever it is. I'm excited. You keep listing off topics. Okay. You are not in the storytelling phase yet. This is the creative phase. This is the draft phase. So you're just rattling off topics as it pertains to those emotions. Once you have the topics, you have something to work with. This is the starting ground for, hey, where do I even find stories to share? This is a really good way from a starting perspective to rattle off topics. This is the foundation upon which great storytelling stands. The foundation is the emotion. Emotion is foundation. Once you get these topics, you're going to be able to look at it and you're going to be able to say, hey, here are the topics I have. These topics would make the best stories. Now, I want to challenge you that typically our most powerful stories are trapped in our subconscious minds. I know that might sound a little weird to people, but I cannot even tell you how many times I will have a story strategy session and stories will come out that happened 15 years ago. Now, here's what fascinates me about that. I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of story strategy sessions over the years, and I'm still uncovering stories that happened in my past a long time ago. Very long. In fact, there's a story that recently came out in one of my story strategy sessions that happened over 20 years ago. So that's 2 decades. So we need to continue to utilize prompts like this to drive out topics that we can zone in and focus on. Okay. When you're doing this, you're not necessarily focused on business or personal. You're focused on any of it. Because one, while you're in that creative mindset, you're rattling off as many topics as you possibly can. Because again, some of our most powerful stories are trapped in our subconscious mind. So you may need to rattle off 20 different topics within under the excited category. You may have to rattle off numerous personal pieces of excitement before you get to what you need to regarding the business aspect. And plus, sometimes when it comes to personal stories, some of our most powerful stories we share are personal stories with business themes intertwined. So don't leave anything off the table. Make sure that you're rattling off as many topics as you possibly can within those categories. So then you can go back and you can say, hey, this is what I need to work with. It's much, much better to have a problem of a surplus of topics versus a deficit of topics. This strategy is pure gold for you when it comes to having a base, having that foundation. I work with so many leaders and they say, well, what do I say in my staff meeting? Or I don't know where to even start when it comes to storytelling. This is where you start. Emotion is foundation. You need to set the proper foundation. So again, just to recap, what you would do is you would block off time in your calendar, story strategy session, keep it to 20 minutes max. Once you do that, you're going to pick a process. The example I used in this episode, the process was preparation for your staff meeting. So let's say that next week you have a staff meeting. You would do this the day or two or a day or two before. Again, what you do is you pick an emotion. Again, the 4 emotions that are the most pertinent emotions in the business world is excited, angry, fearful, and surprised. These emotions come up all the time. So preparation for the staff meeting, we're zoning in on excited. What is exciting you right now? Rattle that off. In fact, you can set your clock on your phone. Set a timer on your phone for 2 to 3 minutes. You're going to rattle off as many topics in the excited category as you possibly can. Once you do that, you're going to have a laundry list of topics under the excited category to zone in on and focus on, hey, this is the topic I need to build a story around for my upcoming staff meeting. Okay. So hopefully that helps. This has been incredible for me personally to just crank out tons of stories in my life. This is what I've used now for several years as the starting point to build out those stories. Thank you for listening to the Stories with Traction podcast. Please leave a review, since positive reviews will make it easier for others to find this conversation. Next episode will launch on Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern. Until then, remember, if you want to persuade with power and inspire those around you to action, you must share more stories.